guys were saying. I just couldn't speak.
Happens on my phone sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get this started then.
All right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another edition of Mouse Madness. I'm your host, Nicholas Heaney, a.k.a. Irish Husky. I'm joined here once again by some familiar voices. Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. I'm Wesley, Dr. W on most social media.
I am Carrick Namnit, Raccoon Bro VA on most social media.
And I'm Rafa Molina, Rafmo74 on most social media.
Excellent. So, last week was the most successful week we've had so far in Mouse Madness, averaging over 14 votes per matchup. Week 7 wasn't quite as high, but we still had a very decent turnout. We got some last-minute votes in, so that helped raise it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe that we're already on week 7. We're nearing the end of the first round, and
the end of the first round is the halfway point if you do the math.
Just what I was about to say.
At 8 films per week, we'd have this done in about 16 weeks.
That's right. So yeah, we're almost halfway there. It's crazy to think how well this has been turning out so far.
Crazy to think how many Disney movies there are.
I know.
Yeah, it goes pretty much for saying you start a project, you have no idea where it's going to go, so you just sit down and let the chips fall where they may. So
yeah, I think once we weed out some of these lesser known and lesser liked films, I think I'll be ready to try and expand this to some more social media, like Facebook, where I have most of my IRL friends, a lot of whom are Disney fans.
Right.
Yeah, I get that a lot because it's a hard sell when you're going up to people and saying, "Hey, do you guys want to get on my podcast and talk about Melody Time and Fun and Fancy Free? Yeah. We're going to talk about Black Cauldron next week."
Disney's basically ingrained in our culture. They own 40% of media. They basically run their own city-state in Florida. And they've been around for 100 years. So Disney
oh my god, that was fantastic. I love that. I'm going to forever refer to Disney World now as a city-state. Thank you for that.
Basically, Disney is the American Empire.
Basically is. It basically is.
Yeah.
I remember.
A city that with its surrounding territory forms an independent state.
Well, no, you see, Walt formed the basis for it on the grounds of Lake Buena Vista, and Disney basically controls the entire inner city of Kissimmee. Mm-hmm. Their whole economy is stimulated by Disney World, and then Orlando popped up because they wanted to go to Disney. And he envisioned a prototype planned community at Epcot that never really took off.
Oh, wow.
The planned community idea would take off in other places like Reston near me, but Disney World basically set up the groundwork.
Hey.
But in pertinent news with the movies on the film side.
Yes, let's actually get into that. The good stuff. All right.
I'm looking excited about this one.
All right, so let's do a quick recap of which films we'll be looking at. Lion King was Class D's 1 seed, so it automatically gets a bye. We also looked at the 8 seed Hunchback of Notre Dame versus the 9 seed The Jungle Book. Additionally, our 5 seed this week was Peter Pan, matched up against the 12 seed Meet the Robinsons. And finally, the 4 seed Tarzan going up against the 13 seed The Black Cauldron. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but let's just say whatever movie you think was going to win, it probably did. This wasn't
one of those weeks.
This wasn't. It wasn't week 3 where we had a lot of close competition. Now this one was pretty set in stone.
Yes. That's not to so say far, I think the only matchup you could consider an upset, arguably, is Treasure Planet over Lady and the Tramp. Even the other 5-12 overturn was kind of a little bit expected.
I still have no idea how Three Caballeros got a 5 seed.
High meta.
That'll do it. All right. I wish I remembered stuff from that movie, but it lost, so I don't have to. Anyway,
Right.
I'll never forget that movie. Trust me.
Such a great movie, such a catchy song. I sing it to myself now and again.
3J Caballero.
that's the one thing I'll remember. All right, so let's get into the actual matchups. We can't talk about Lion King because it didn't have one. So let's get to Hunchback versus Jungle Book.
Your time will come, Simba.
And it will be well deserved. Hunchback and Notre Dame, I think a lot of people will agree, is easily one of the darkest Disney movies ever made. Like, without question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
100%.
like this Disney movie. It's got some good orchestration. It's got Steven Schwartz, the guy who did Prince of Egypt 2 years after this. And it's got, and sticks pretty close to the story, and it doesn't really shy away from too much of the darker aspects. I will say, though, while I like this movie, I can't get totally into it because it has a bit of a tonal issue. It's a little inconsistent.
Yeah, that's...
They have a goofy yell at the climactic battle.
I heard that.
Yes.
Yeah,
And also,
imagine that. Something as dark and serious as Hellfire, and then like 30 minutes later, a freaking goofy yell.
And you also got one of the guards being voiced by Patrick
Point out all the
Bateman.
goofy yells.
What? You get that one of the guards sounded exactly like Patrick Bateman.
Yeah. I think the gargoyles could have worked if they'd had a bit more tact, and if they didn't just butt in everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm moving to a bird!
I will defend the gargoyles. I can see why they were included, because like at the time Disney needed to find some way to make this story rated G, because you gotta find a way to sell this kind of stuff to kids.
Hellfire's kind of pushing it already. I mean, a priest lusting after a girl. Like,
Well, he's a judge in this version.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically heavily implying he wants to bang her without outright saying it.
Yeah.
If you gotta,
Hellfire, in a nutshell, is this teenager's giving me a boner. What do I do?
Right.
Dear God, please forgive me for wanting to pleasure myself.
Right. Again, I think gargoyles could have worked if they tried just a little bit of tweaking to have them not be as intrusive.
Yeah, that's my biggest. That is my biggest problem with the movie. It's like pick a lane. Either if you want to go super serious, I guess this is a Disney movie, so it never really had that option to begin with. But at the very least, the dissonance shouldn't be that large.
Yeah, but
like,
the things
I compare this to Mulan, which had a similar tonal shift, but that was deliberate and it was effective because it was actively contrasting what was coming right before it.
Yeah.
But for what the movie did get that surprised me, it kept a lot of the serious aspects like the racism, like Frollo's lust, and again, Quasi does not get the girl.
That is a nice touch.
That is faithful to the book also. Quasi does not get the girl.
Yeah.
Although I will say, trading getting to be with the girl in the end for the opportunity to live instead of dying, like in the original story, I think is a pretty good trade-off for Quasi.
Yeah, that's one thing that I will say about about this movie. Like, as much of a dark turn that it took as a whole, and as difficult as it kind of had staying in their lane. I mean, you took a Victor Hugo story, okay, some of the darkest stories in literature, and you somehow managed to make it into a G-rated movie.
Right.
Yeah.
If you gotta have a Jason Alexander gargoyle in order to do it, then by all means.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, apparently, early on, Esmeralda was marketed with the princesses, but apparently she was downgraded. Guess she wasn't as marketable.
Boo.
Yeah,
That's not fair. Pocahontas fits into the lineup, but Esmeralda doesn't.
Diversity, people.
We had to wait another 10 years for a non-white princess after Pocahontas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can't. As for the gargoyles themselves, they were mostly harmless, but there were times where they did get on my nerves, and it really did make the tonal inconsistency start to grate on me. And that's the reason I can't really give it a full endorsement. Like, the people who love this call it Disney's best movie. I can understand their point of view. I just don't see it that way. I prefer things to be a little more, a little more consistent.
Yeah, I put this one in my top 20, maybe top 10, but there are just a few elements that keep it just a little bit off true greatness for me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, here's the thing with me, my problem with people calling this their favorite Disney movie. It's kind of like saying that your favorite Sonic video game is Sonic Unleashed. Like, yeah, it's a really cool game when you're Sonic, but then you also got the werehog levels. Like, you can't just ignore, but it's half of the video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like people just overlook those parts for the parts that are good.
And I get that too.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for Disney's next project, Les Mis.
I would pay to see a G-rated version of Les Mis just to see how it works out.
Followed by a G-rated version of Reservoir Dogs.
Disney actually owned the rights to that movie at first. Miramax.
Really?
Pulp Fiction. Yeah, Pulp Fiction.
Me.
For a lot of people who think animation's just for kids, remember it's sort of like the inverse of that, because Pulp Fiction and Trainspotting and Reservoir Dogs are technically Disney movies.
Oh my god.
My god, they own everything.
Yep.
I did not know that. I did not know
think of that because it goes so against their brand.
Oh, absolutely. If you had told me before now that Trainspotting was technically a Disney movie, I would not have believed you.
Yeah. Well, it was distributed by Miramax when they were owned by Disney, so yeah.
Oh my god.
You know, it's hard to imagine that Tony J went from "We've got to have money" in the Tom and Jerry movie to this 3 years later.
Wow.
That guy's got range. I'll give it to him.
Yeah, that distinctive bass that you can.
Yeah, the one change from the book to the movie that really does stick out to me is changing Frollo from a priest to a judge, and the actual priest in the movie is portrayed as like the sane voice of reason who provides sanctuary to Esmeralda.
Maybe it's all in his head, like Fight Club.
And because the original Hunchback was heavily criticizing the Catholic Church and its members, and so this is kind of going in the exact opposite direction, where the members of the church are the humble priests giving sanctuary. And I think that was a good change to make, because there's no way Disney could get away with tackling the Catholic Church.
Right. But another theme this movie introduced, and the book too, is historical preservation. And Hugo wrote the book, and in French it's not Hunchback of Notre Dame, it's Notre Dame de Paris. So it's all about the cathedral and the restoration efforts. And when the fire hit last year, it was Disney who put the funds to restore it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. And because it takes place in France, that's why you can see Belle reading her book in the crowd.
Yeah, and they also apparently roasted...
Oh my god, I missed that.
It's a very small Easter egg. You would have to pause the movie to catch it.
Yeah, okay. Another funny thing, too, is that Frollo also... the voice makes an appearance in Beauty and the Beast. He's the guy that... he takes...
Crazy guy. Or, like,
guy. No, he's the guy that has the sanitarium.
Mm-hmm. So dark. I love it.
Yeah, it's like That man's voice is so legendary, so dark.
Yeah.
He's up there with David Ogden Stiers when it comes to iconic Disney voices in the 90s. Who also voices the Archdeacon.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
David Ogden Stiers, he's everywhere.
He's freaking everywhere in the 90s, dude.
Yeah. All right, Jungle Book, another Disney movie loosely based on a piece of classic literature.
But this one kind of goes a little bit further away from that. But Disney outright told the producers, don't read the book.
Wow. Don't read it. You're going to be traumatized.
Yeah, so it's sort of like something inspired by Kipling and not directly based. And also, orangutans are not native to India. They're from Indonesia, full ocean away. The remake fixes this by having it be a Gigantopithecus, which is an extinct ape that was native to India.
Yeah, but then that raises the question, why is there a singular Gigantopithecus around in the age in the era where there are humans?
Bigfoot.
Creative liberties.
I
find it funny how this is one of two movies this week that involves a young boy growing up in the jungle.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah, that's true.
Speaking of the orangutan, I think the King Louis song is probably my younger brother's favorite Disney movie because he's a big fan of scat. Like, he loves scat.
Yeah,
and it's one of the origin movies that does scat.
Was a jazz god in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is a very catchy song.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's definitely one of my favorites too. Honestly,
it's a good song. Obviously, the one that I like most is "Bare Necessities."
Right.
You cannot go wrong with that.
That's just a chill song. It's the Hakuna Matata of the Jungle Book.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
Yeah,
it's good. It's catchy, relaxing.
We can live off the land.
And I really appreciate how they incorporated that song into the remake.
Yeah.
Where Blue is not like a professional singer at all, but it's just him like being himself and singing like everyone's got a song. And it's one of the best scenes in the movie where he's just like flown down the river with what's the kid's name?
Mowgli.
Mowgli, yeah, they're just flown down the river and singing it. It's great.
Yeah, and the best part for that, for me, honestly, was the fact that Baloo was voiced by Bill Murray, which just really drives it all home.
He's definitely the Phil Harris of our time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
They both got that like casual, comedic demeanor about them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And once again, it's a Disney film with the voice talents of Sterling Holloway as the snake Kaa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought Kaa swallowed poo.
It's quite interesting how he uses the exact same voice to be like threatening, and also the same voice to be your childhood hero.
Yeah. Playful tone, but with sarcasm and a slimy undertone.
Yeah.
I think they reused the exact same animation for both times that he fell out of the tree and got knotted up.
It was so obvious that even I caught that as a kid. I was like, "Wait a minute, this seems too familiar."
I don't even pay attention to that stuff most of the time, and even I was able to pick up on that.
It's like, come on, Disney, you tried to get that past me.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to get up pretty early in the morning to pull one past 6-year-old Carrick.
Yeah, I feel like though the movie as a whole has its good elements, but they're all kind of too spaced out for me, and the parts in between just aren't very interesting.
I don't really like this movie that much, looking back on it as a kid.
This is one of the few times where the remake is able to expand upon it because it has the good stuff from this movie, but matches the tone and the atmosphere of the novel.
Yeah.
And also
that mysticism, have that conflict, and it's able to remember these characters as animals like they were.
And it also doesn't make me want to kill Mowgli.
Yeah. Though I will say
Mowgli was Mowgli was very obnoxious in this movie.
Yeah. No, in the book and the remake, he's a doer. He's like Kid Bear Grylls.
Yeah, that's a good point. But in this movie, he's like one of the most insufferable Disney characters I've ever seen. Like, he's worse than somebody that we'll be getting to very soon in this discussion.
Though I will say both versions, though, Shere Khan was the best part.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, just that voice, just that demeanor, just so great. And he's played in the original by George Sanders. That's a good voice for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's his only voice acting role. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's the brother of Tom Conway.
Right.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, look that up.
Yeah,
you can totally.
This is definitely a movie where the good parts, like, just look them up on their own, like Bare Necessities, the Orangutan song, just anything with Shere Khan.
Right.
Maybe that song at the end with the girl.
Yeah.
It's nice enough.
Yeah.
In the book, does Mowgli always return to the world of man?
I think so. It's been a while since I read the book, but I think he does go back.
I think I understand why they changed that for the remake, because now that we know that kind of thing is not really doable. Like, if a feral child being reintroduced to society is not really going to happen.
We have documented aspects of that falling through.
So I can see why they might have wanted to go back on that.
Yeah.
You can take the kid out of the jungle, but you can't take the jungle out of the kid.
Exactly.
For me, it just felt kind of abrupt. Like,
Yeah.
5 minutes left, and we're just going to cut to this.
It's the exact same problem that Sword in the Stone has. It's just like, shit happens the movie, and then you just gotta throw in an ending.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't so much end,
Yeah.
it just kind of comes to a halt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of abrupt. Kind of comes without any warning
I wouldn't
or decision.
I wouldn't say it's as egregious as Sword in the Stone, but it is very noticeable.
It's got that same aspect as it.
Yeah. Gregory Peck, president of the Academy at the time, campaigned to get this one Best Picture nom. While I wouldn't go that far, it would have been kind of cool to see an animated film nominated for Best Picture that early.
Yeah.
Could have had this, but no, Fox bribed their way into getting Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Dr. Dolittle was a pretty good movie.
If you're in the right mindset, I only liked it because when you're 7 and a movie with an animal in every frame is instant 10 out of 10.
Which Dr. Dolittle movie?
The original one with what's the actor's name? The guy was in My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
Let's see who can look it up first.
I got it. Oh no, I'm getting the Robert Downey Jr. one. Dang it!
Yeah. Oh yes, no, not the one where he. Do you guys know what happens in the climax of that movie?
No.
Dragon colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
He has to stick his hand up a dragon's butt to get something out of it.
Okay, it was Rex Harrison.
Thank you. Right, yeah, Rex Harrison.
Yeah, that movie, Fox basically bribed the Academy to get it in over Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Though I still would have given Bare Necessities Best Song.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Dolittle actually won Best Song that year.
Yeah.
Apparently Jungle Book was popular enough to get its own spin-off show, Tailspin.
And
Yeah,
Jungle
it was. Which
talk about that. Tailspin was okay, but Jungle Cubs is basically just Muppet babies in the jungle.
yeah, Tailspin was one of those solid cartoons from like from like that era, like just some of the best Disney cartoons in like the 90s and all that, like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, just all of those ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's a hard sell without Phil Harris.
Right.
It kind of holds its own, honestly.
Yeah, I have to see who replaced him, though. But But yeah, it's pretty cool seeing them in like World War I flying planes, like 1910s, 1920s aviation. And they also gave us Dun Carnage.
Yeah.
I never grew up with the show. I have heard the theme song, and I mostly recognize it from one of Neil Cicierega's mashups.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
yeah,
Neil
what was the Chip and Dale
Cicierega,
one?
National Treasure.
Mm-hmm. The man behind Ultimate Showdown and
ticking noise.
Ed Gilbert, that's who briefly replaced Baloo for Tailspin. And then John Goodman voiced him in Jungle Book 2, which I thought was good casting.
And Andy Serkis voiced him in the Netflix Jungle Book.
Haven't seen
There's a
that.
Netflix Jungle Book?
Yeah, it's called Mowgli: Legend of the Jungle.
Oh god.
Benedict Cumberbatch voices Shere Khan.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh god.
He sounds like George Sanders.
Trying to think. Oh yeah, Adrian Brody Goes for a Stroll is another one that he made.
Very good. I also like the one about the mongoose, Eighth Wonder.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, well, you can probably look it up on your own time, but that one's pretty funny because he took such an obscure legend and made his own song about it.
Well, my personal favorite Neil Cicierega stuff is like the Mouth Sounds albums.
Right. But anyway, now the result.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
And Tony J voices Shere Khan in the sequel.
Right.
Cool.
Sorry, just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I know, an Idris Elba remake.
All right, but anyway, let's get to the results. Hunchback of Notre Dame, 12. Jungle Book, 1.
Whoa, blowout.
Whoa.
I was thinking,
Jungle Book has fans, but I guess they just didn't show.
apparently not.
I think it's just one of those cases of one clearly being superior.
Yeah,
I think also the reputation helps too.
Yeah, because people who like Hunchback really like Hunchback,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
and Jungle Book
But
fans aren't quite as vocal.
Interesting.
All right, shall we move on?
By all means.
All right, next matchup: Peter Pan versus Meet the Robinsons.
I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out there that Meet the Robinsons is a very personal film for me.
How so?
Well, when I was a kid and I watched that, it's one of the few Disney movies that I watched in theaters with my whole family, and it shaped a lot of my character and my sense of humor and things like that. And also another thing is that one of my mom's good friends was the lead animator of Doris the Hat.
Oh, that's
Really?
Whoa, that is awesome.
Cool.
So personal connection, emotionally and physically too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember seeing Meet the Robinsons once a few years after it came out. It was on DVD. I was watching it with my cousins. I remember liking a lot of it. And while the humor is kind of hit or miss, I really like the heart that it has, and
I like it.
the main theme that it's pushing about perseverance and the way that it's telling it. That really resonates.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a it's a great movie. It's a great message.
And,
It's
and
very.
I love the kind of combination of comedic yet serious portrayal of what happens if you don't take that message to heart and instead go the opposite direction.
Also,
Yeah.
very few celebrity voices in this. They use a lot of actual, honest-to-goodness voice actors.
Oh yeah.
Very, very nice.
And sends the Tom Selleck.
Yeah, he's Sandler and Tom Kenny.
I mean, they got Nicole Sullivan as Fran. She's one of my favorite voice actors ever.
Major role.
Yeah.
Yep, they also have Steve Anderson, who was one of the big ones, who was the director actually. But yeah, it's kind of odd. But this is William Joyce. Weird is kind of his brand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
Called
Steven Anderson voices the Boarhack guy and the Grandpa.
Thumbnail. This is practically normal for him.
Yeah, It's one of the things, kind of like backtracking for a second, that about the movie where we were talking about kind of like the whole message of perseverance. I think it's definitely something that I think needs to be taught more frequently. Even today as in the past.
Right.
Where they actually. Yeah, and where they kind of like have that whole celebration where of his failure, because it's like, no, you failed, you learned something.
Right.
It's kind of like when I play the video game Celeste. It's a very hard platforming game, and one of the first messages
almost gave me carpal tunnel.
One of the first messages that game tells you is if you finish a level and you see that you had a lot of deaths on it, that's a really good thing, because it means that every time you die, you'll learn something new, and you have a better time getting through the level.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I was trying to do stage 9, and I almost got carpal tunnel just from summiting.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way when I'm doing those super expert levels in Mario Maker 2. Like specifically the ones that require a lot of precision jumping.
I see.
It's like you make it a little further every time. You know what you need to adjust. Get a little bit further, and there's just something so satisfying about working on one level for like an hour or two, and then finally getting to the end. It's like, I don't know. On one hand, it kind of feels like a waste of time, but on the other hand, that feeling of satisfaction, you can't replicate that.
They call that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like
it accomplished something.
Yeah, it's like a tough boss fight in other video games or something like that, like the Sephiroth fights in Kingdom Hearts. You would feel the adrenaline pumping while you're doing something, and then there's just that immense satisfaction at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's immediate too.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you are able to finish a difficult task and feel rewarded, then yeah, that's what justifies it.
And and I also relate this to my days playing Guitar Hero. The first time I ever passed through the Fire and Flames after months of endless practice.
What difficulty?
Yes.
On expert difficulty.
Wow, that is yeah. You see, that's
not expert.
You've beaten it on hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jay Davis, by the way, that's the name of my mom's animator friend.
Okay.
He also worked on the computer-generated crowd in Hunchback and Notre Dame.
Oh, I'm so glad you have those perks. I mean, my dad worked for PBS, but I'm always impressed when they have those people who have those insider connections.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. Really cool. I don't feel like there's a whole lot else to talk about with Meet the Robinsons.
Not just a lot of
not a whole lot of specifics to talk about. It's all kind of generalities.
Yeah.
I was a tiny bit confused while watching it about how Bowler Hat guy stealing Luce's invention was going to alter the timeline in that way. Like he's taking it into the future, and once he signs the contract, like it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around exactly what was happening.
Well, you gotta think about it fourth dimensionally, just like they always say in Back to the Future. He's taking it to a slightly nearer future so that he can sell the invention versus.
No, it's like divergent timelines, like Stein.
Yeah,
he made a new universe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I like how Goob in his older state is telling his younger self to hold on to this anger from losing that game. Like, if he didn't do that, he probably wouldn't have turned out the way he did. So, he's completing the temporal loop.
Yes.
And that's a nice touch.
The thing that I really get a kick out of, though, is like when the big reveal happens that he's Goob, he rips off the cape and the black jumpsuit, and he's still wearing the same old, at this point, 20, 30-year-old baseball uniform.
Hey guys, we only have 17 years before the future segment. Let's see how things turn out.
I think Carl is probably my favorite character in this because he's got that great scene like, oh, you don't understand. Everything's going wrong. The timeline is probably going to collapse. Also, I think somebody stole my bike.
Yeah, I feel like this movie does off-the-wall humor better than Chicken Little did.
Yeah.
Yes.
It came out like a year after that movie.
2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah, and it's much better in its comedic delivery than Chicken Little was.
Right. I love that hyperactive science fair judge.
Yes, the caffeine patch.
Has the caffeine of 12 cups of coffee, and she's putting them all up her arm.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay awake for days with no side effects. Sorry.
Oh, good.
The person who voiced that is Laurie Metcalf, who voices Andy's mom from Toy Story,
and Jim's mom in Treasure Planet.
Mm-hmm. She's a typecast mom character, I guess.
Yeah, she does a good job though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Tom Kenny is the teacher.
Yeah. I also really like how at the end it all kind of comes together with how all these different characters come into Lewis's life and what role they play.
Yeah, it's a great little wrap up.
Yeah, and it actually makes sense.
And it's super satisfying to see him finally get that family he's been looking for, because all this time he's been trying to get back to his old family when all this time they were right in front of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's cheap.
Like, he just needed to learn to move forward and stop looking in the past. And also the nice attention to detail, how you can hear his footsteps at the very beginning of the movie when his mom is placing the baby down, just like to signify that he was there the whole time. Like when he went back to that moment at the end of the movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I missed that.
I missed it too. I'll have to watch that scene.
You'll hear footsteps, and like that's supposed to be him.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this movie a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wish it stood a better chance against Peter Pan.
Right.
Yeah, and I also kind of wish that it had a much better reception when it was first released. Honestly,
Right.
I
didn't watch the movie.
It feels like it's getting a bit of a reevaluation, kind of like Tyler's New Groove or.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I honestly, I'll be honest. I didn't watch this movie until I was like in college, when a friend of mine recommended it to me.
It is funny to think about how if Lewis wasn't there to ring the doorbell, his mom would have just like left a baby outside in the rain.
Oh, God.
Oh, that just took a dark turn.
Again, completing those temporal loops.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I love Terminator stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's also nice how he changed Goop's future.
That was
That's it too.
that was a good little touch to the movie, because I mean, like in some cases, like in some movies, especially with time travel and all that, they would be like, "Oh no, you can't change anything." So then they would not have changed Goop's future at all.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those flexible timeline films, like Back to the Future, where you just don't think about it, just go with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Want to move on?
Yep.
So,
Peter Pan.
Yep. Well,
it's been a very long time since I've seen this movie.
yeah, I feel like Peter backlash for it. I kind of like Peter Pan. It's one of the more fun, adventure type ones. But I'm not going to defend the casual racism element of it.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, what made the Red Man red? All the stuff leading up to that. Not only is it some of like the most casual racism in the early Disney era, but it goes on for so freaking long.
Right. I've seen productions of the play where they change it to a generic fantasy race like elves or the Na'vi from Avatar. That's
yeah, at least the song's catchy.
Yeah, the song's catchy. I do kind of like You Can Fly also, but there are two things that really make this movie for me. It's Captain Hook and Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
Tinkerbell's a bitch.
I forgot.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a line, but she's still able to leave that impression.
And then she's voiced by Katara. Then she's voiced by Katara in the new Tinkerbell movies.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
the new.
Yeah.
Right.
Is she really? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but she's got some sense. Besides Mickey, she was basically the mascot of Disney for a number of years. She was on
Yeah, absolutely.
the intro.
Crazy to think about. I wonder why they gave that up.
Yeah.
I get, it's funny because they make her in everything after Peter Pan, and every single thing you see her, she's a much nicer sport. Except for in Peter Pan. In Peter Pan, she is an awful person.
She sells out Peter Pan just to get one over on Wendy.
And she tries to kill Wendy like how many times in the movie?
Like at least 30.
Like, wow, Peter, you really bring out the worst in your friends.
Yo.
Yeah, this was like Aladdin and what was the other one? Alice in Wonderland. This was another production that my middle school put on, and I played the role of John Darling. It was more based.
And you weren't Captain Hook? Yeah. Oh, you were John, right?
I was John.
I think you were the dad.
It wasn't so much an adaptation of the Disney film, more so an adaptation of like the original play with Mary Martin as Peter Pan.
Yeah, that's not better with the racism angle, for the record.
Did a girl play Peter Pan?
Yes, she did.
Yeah. I guess that's just kind of tradition at this point.
Yeah,
and it's also tradition, even in this movie, to have the person who plays the father also play Captain Hook.
Oh yeah,
Peter Pan live.
Yeah,
they did not do that in the Christopher Walken version.
Yeah, they didn't do that with our production either. They had two different people play it. Both doing good jobs, I must say.
Yeah.
Hey, so are we not going to talk about the fact that their parents have different hair colors, and the kids all have the same hair color as their mom, and they also have the same hair color as Peter Pan?
Mrs. Darling, is there something you want to tell us? Oh God, and Peter Pan never grows up, so.
He's
no! Get it away!
That's okay. He's like 100 years old.
Yeah. They're doing the anime thing where it's a child's body, but they justify.
Oh God, no! Please.
So, like they're immortal.
God, no!
This is a family podcast.
Okay. So yeah, Wes and Carrick. I don't know if you've seen my 10 words or less on this. Minor note about that is that I think they should have gotten John Fiedler to do the voice of Smee. Because I feel like Smee with Piglet's voice would have been...
Oh, yeah, I could hear it.
That's all that was going through my mind. Like, this is the way that someone voiced by Piglet would act.
Right, but also we have the second role for Catherine Beaumont. She's Wendy.
Oh, yeah. She's Alice and Wendy.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, no, I will say though, I do understand that, but I still like Smee being voiced by Droopy Dog.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but Catherine Beaumont not only voiced both roles, she also did the rotoscope, the visual reference for both of them.
Oh yeah, I forget a lot that these Disney movies use rotoscope.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like the precursor to motion capture, only much more natural looking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about Disney. Some movies with hand-drawn is that sometimes the rotoscope feels a bit too human-like, and it feels uncanny to me, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I think the one where you see that the most, honestly, is in some of the animated versions of Lord of the Rings.
Right. Yeah.
Where the rotoscoping just feels so weird.
Yeah, in Bakshi's movies, the movements are all janky.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, the movie that freaks me out the most is Anastasia. It uses a lot of rotoscope in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I think my biggest positive from this movie, aside from Captain Hook, would be Wendy, because she does give me that Alice vibe, which again makes sense. Like,
yeah,
like kind of going along, but also not taking that much BS.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the only one who doesn't take part in the Native American scene, which mad props to her, because that scene is probably the most uncomfortable I've ever been watching these movies. And the fact that it lasts for so long does not help, especially considering that for me, the rest of the film was kind of on the borderline obnoxious side. With Peter Pan himself, he just kind of got on my nerves.
At least with the Aristocats, the racing scene was only 10 seconds.
Yeah, this is like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I kind of think...
the crocodile is also the other good character, because he doesn't talk.
Yeah, I like that. That crocodile is funny.
The clock.
Yeah, some of the physical humor, like when they're in the cave rescuing Tiger Lily, like the speed and the timing, that got some good laughs out of me too.
Yeah. Oh, I will say, kind of like what you were saying, Nick, about Peter Pan being an obnoxious character. I think that's kind of the whole point. Peter's just one of the just refuses wholeheartedly to grow up. That's just this whole.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes
shtick.
sense. I guess it's in character for him, but having to watch that,
and he has kind of a following just because of his sass.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of see the inverse of that in Hook, because in Hook, Peter refuses to act young. And he's almost like stuck permanently trying to act like an adult until almost the very end, where he finds his happy place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The movie that introduced Rufio.
Oh yes.
The Meme King.
Oh yes, Rufio. Yeah. Good old Dante Bosco.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Zuko?
That's the movie that made him a Meme King.
Wow.
Yep. Zuko is in Hook.
Cool.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
The one with Robin Williams, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep, that one.
2 Avatar references in this podcast.
Let's see if we can go for 3.
I don't know. Was Sokka's voice actor in any of these?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Nobody is in Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
And they made a direct reference with a boomerang.
I know.
Oh my god! When I saw that, I appreciated it so much.
Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, "Oh, you knew what you were doing there. You better get into a haiku battle with someone later."
That's gonna be that's season 4 stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, the vote.
All right, let's get to it.
I think this one might be. I think this one will be pretty close. My guess.
Yeah, same.
All right, here we go. Peter Pan, 9. Meet the Robinsons, 5.
Oh my god!
Nail biter.
Yeah, this one definitely put up a fight. Meet the Robinsons was easily the strongest fighting loser this round.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm really sad to Meet the Robinsons lost this early, because, like I said, this is I really like that movie.
This is actually my second prediction that I got wrong. I either overestimated how much people like Meet the Robinsons or underestimated how much people like Peter Pan. Either way, that's 2 wrong predictions for me so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, the 5-12 matchup, even in the real March Madness, is usually the most interesting.
Yeah, this is because 2 of the 12 seeds have won.
And all 4 of them were close. So.
No. Fun and Fancy Free got shut out.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one.
Christ, that movie.
It's okay, because we're not bears.
Yes.
Right.
So, therefore, it's fine.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Let's get on to our final matchup: Tarzan versus the Black Cauldron.
Tarzan, one of the first movies I remember seeing in theaters. It was pretty interesting to see at the time because I hadn't seen a Disney movie on the big screen before, and I just liked the action. I liked it. Some of it kind of dragged, but then when I saw it later for this podcast, I really got into it. I honestly don't even have that much of a problem with the comic relief. I like their number.
Honestly, this was one of the first movies I saw in theaters. I don't remember ever seeing it. I just remember my parents telling me that they took us to see it in the theaters, and I ate too much popcorn and got sick.
That's me with Toy Story 1. Apparently, as a 5-month-old infant, I was taken to Toy Story 1, which goes against all my ethics of film going. Do not bring kids to a theater.
Good lesson to follow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I watched Tarzan 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I'm very happy I watched it.
Yeah, this movie was the entire reason that I got a subscription to Disney Plus in the first place.
Yeah, it is a fantastic movie, and I'm going to be completely honest. It's got probably one of the best soundtracks in the entirety of Disney movies.
Phil Collins soundtrack
blame Canada.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But seriously, you'll be in my heart or blame Canada. Can't go wrong with either of those.
Mm-hmm.
When I was watching the movie, the thought kept going around in my mind, why does this one have such a bad reputation?
It doesn't really. A lot of people I say like it.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the nostalgia critic that this one has a bit of a tainted reputation.
Yeah.
You mean the one where he mislabels a leopard as a cheetah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know in the comment section of that video, a good number of the comments are people saying, Phil Collins' soundtrack is great. What do you want about?
Yeah, it is great. I liked how in the Bugs Life VHS they had a bonus feature where they show how he does trashing the can.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty much all the songs are great. I mentioned this a while back on DeviantArt that the Son of Man sequence is quite possibly my favorite sequence in any of these Disney movies.
Oh yeah, hands down one of the best montages
love
ever.
The song, love the journey that Tarzan goes through, slowly getting accepted into a culture that for so long he hasn't fit into. The last 20 seconds where he's surfing on the trees, I still have no idea how they managed to have him crisscrossing. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, yeah.
No matter how I look at that, physically that should not work. There has to be frames where he's lifting his feet, but it's so slight, it's like they're just crossing over with each other.
But
it's generally considered the end of the Disney Renaissance because it changes the formula. It's a good example of what we call a non-diegetic musical.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of the soundtracks from montage and pop singles playing overhead. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is another example I can think of a non-diegetic musical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the closest this one gets to having a diegetic song is when
Trashing the Can.
When Kala's giving a lullaby song to Tarzan.
Yeah.
And Trashing the Can, I think.
And that one too, right?
Yeah, that actually has a nice transition from the characters to Phil Collins.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And it definitely utilizes his strength because Collins started out as a drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, props for the wildlife people. They correctly identified that there are no piranhas in Africa.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did notice that the one elephant who said that they're native to South America was voiced by Roger Bumpass.
I was just going to say that.
But,
oh my God, really?
He was using the voice of the doctor. Dr. Phil Gilliam.
Phil Gilliam.
It took me a while to recognize it because, I heard that voice somewhere. Where is it? Roger Bumpass!
Oh my God.
It's the Jetsons in the 60s.
Wow. This man has quite the pedigree.
Yeah, but points for getting that wildlife thing correct. Sometimes Disney takes liberties. Even Lion King had leafcutter ants and anteaters in Africa.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's their way of rectifying that.
Also, having a character be named Ed, living in Africa. But, you know, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I was today years old when I learned that Squidward was in Tarzan.
He's in Bug's Life, too.
Is he really? Who's in
Body
Bug's
Mary! Oh, positive!
Oh my god!
I remember seeing that clip.
Yeah, I was like, I've seen this movie dozens of times, and I didn't know it was him until just then.
Yeah, I think every time I see that movie, I just kind of zone out at that point. That might just be because every time I've watched it was on the 16-hour drive that our family would take from Chicago to Louisiana, and they need something to keep us occupied.
Whoa, and I thought my 6-hour commute to Cleveland was rough.
Yeah.
But, by the way, that's also the same voice that he uses for Dr. Light from Teen Titans.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The Gil Gilliam voice.
And but with this movie, I think more than the songs and more than the animation, what really gets to me here is just the type of story that it's telling. It's found family and coming of age, kind of in the same thing, and I love both of those story types. I love how they come together here, and just the way that Tarzan's growing up. Like as soon as he gets, acceptance from Kerchak, he comes into contact with his own world, and the confusion he's going through, the way he's trying to go between both of them, like should he stay with the humans, should he stay with the gorillas, and even when he decides to go back to England with Jane, the scene where he's saying goodbye to Kala, it breaks my heart every time.
Ouch!
Yes.
He finally reveals why he's different, and that she's technically not his real mother, but will always be your mother.
Yeah. Also, Clayton is one of the most brutal Disney deaths.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Yes, that is a very brutal Disney death.
I try to feel with Ursula's is one of the most graphic.
I mean, there are only so many ways that you can have a Disney villain fall to death, so I guess the animators realized we gotta do something other than just the stock, they fall from a really great distance, like
falling, burning, or falling while burning.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
falling while hanging,
or falling into something that is burning,
like
or falling into a pit
Frollo.
and being moved by hyenas.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've seen people give this movie criticism when it comes to Clayton, just for kind of being the generic money-hungry villain. And my response to that is, this movie is called Tarzan, not Clayton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people like the good villains, but this is definitely another protagonist-driven story, which I prefer.
Yeah.
And so you can afford to have your villain not be as complex as someone like Frollo.
And plus,
and in many cases too.
I was just gonna say, in defense of Clayton, he does have a sense of emotional manipulation here and there, when he's convincing Tarzan to show them to the gorillas.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, definitely. But the thing is that honestly, with Clayton, he truthfully doesn't need to be so complex of an antagonist, because he's a hunter. He's there. He's there. He's down there in Africa for one reason, and that's to hunt.
Yeah, it's a very honest motivation.
Exactly. It's and as far as it's a pure villain by the standards of Tarzan's perspective.
Exactly.
Kerchak is there to hunt, and he's there to hunt gorillas. So what more motivation do you want? Do you want some kind of dramatic backstory where apparently gorillas killed Clayton's family or something like that?
Yeah, this isn't 2010s Disney.
Yeah,
Gorillas
exactly.
are actually fairly docile creatures. They don't attack people unless they're attacked first. So
right.
Yeah, and truth be told, Clayton doesn't need to have complex motivations. He is a hunter,
Yeah.
and
he serves he serves the role that he needs to for this story, which is very much Tarzan's story.
Exactly.
I'm also surprised by how much I liked Tarzan's friend, because the narrative that I had going into it is that they would be very annoying comic reliefs, but no, they're like really they stick by Tarzan's side. Like even in the beginning when she's a little kid, she's not trying to see Tarzan get hurt. She just thinks that he doesn't want him to get hurt when she's telling him to like get an elephant hair. They're just like they're very supportive and like they save him too at point, and they're funny too, and they got like the trashing the camp scene. I was surprised how much I liked that.
It's excellent side characters.
We got Wayne Knight to voice Tantor, the elephant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wayne Knight, awesome.
I thoroughly enjoyed Tantor, especially young Tantor, where he's like walking around the lake, and then everyone going, "Are you sure this was sanitary?"
And well, yeah, it's very relatable nowadays.
Yes, absolutely.
I also noticed this was the third Disney movie you gave an S rank. How does it stack up to Zootopia?
Okay, you know that pole vault metaphor I gave last week, and how Mulan was like one of those was like an athlete that grazes the bar but still gets over.
Yep.
I put Tarzan kind of on that same level. Like I'm not sure how it ranks up with Mulan, because there is a nostalgia bias with Tarzan that I have to take into account. But I still put Zootopia at number 1.
Good.
I will say.
So you gonna do a top and bottom 5 when you're done?
Probably. Probably in the interim between rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah, I did one also, but I might try to revise it after this podcast. So I'm curious to see what you'll think.
If you hadn't told me that Wayne Knight was in this movie, I probably wouldn't have been able to have recognized him.
Yeah. Right. I like this one line that he had toward the end. I am sick of you and your emotional constipation.
Wayne Knight's actually pretty versatile for what you think of it. like he was the cat in Penguins. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah,
blended right in.
Wow. Yeah, and this was one of 2 animated movies he did major voice work in '99. The other, of course, being Al
from Al's Toy Barn. I can't believe I have to drive all the way to work on a Sunday. All the way to work.
I love how there's a Twitter page that posts that scene every week,
every Saturday.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that other one where Fridays are made for Dad's cars, like Dexter's Lab.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do that with the Family Guy scene where they make a horror film and it ends with John Goodman as Peter saying, "It doesn't feel like a Wednesday."
Oh, speaking of Family Guy type humor, I forgot to say during the Peter Pan part. Have you guys ever seen the Robot Chicken skit for Peter Pan, where they're flying for the first time and they like stick over the fairy dust on the dog, but the dog chokes to death on the leash?
Oh my god!
No! Oh my god! That is so dark.
That actually was going through my mind when I was watching the movie. Just like that dog's gonna choke to death.
Yeah, but they do a version of Robot Chicken where he does choke to death.
I think there's another Robot Chicken sketch where. Like, he's having them fly to Neverland, but he forgets to tell them how to fly, so they just jump out the window to their death.
Oh my god!
He's like, don't forget to think happy.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Oh my god.
My brother told me a really dark joke about Peter Pan, where, okay, so basically one of Captain Hook's crewmates comes back with, like, reconnaissance, and it's like, Captain Hook, I found out something you should know about Peter Pan. So apparently... when he flies, it's powered by happy thoughts. So if you say like really depressing things in front of him, maybe it'll make him fall down and you can get the jump on him. And Captain Hook's like, oh, that's a great idea. All right, I'll try it. So next time Peter Pan comes around, Captain Hook's like, the Holocaust! Then Peter Pan flies faster.
Oh
my god!
Oh no.
It's like, and Captain Hook's like, wow, okay, we learned something really interesting about Peter Pan today.
Oh god. Speaking of Peter Pan, watching this, I kept going back to Kid Icarus's video on the Phoenix Games version. Peter Pan, which he calls Peter Pancreas. and like the scene where they're on the clock, where they're on Big Ben, and it cuts.
Playing all the Dingo games. Kid Icarus is a national treasure.
And I just remember when they're on Big Ben, it shows Michael and John with their mouths moving but no sound. Those videos are riots. I love Caddy.
Right, but anyway, last one.
Okay, Black Cauldron.
The movie is infamous for two reasons. One, it was almost the first Disney movie to be rated R because there's a lost cell where Eilon Lee slips a nip that sells for pretty good on eBay.
Oh, wow.
And second, it opened below the Care Bears movie.
Yeah.
How? Oh my god.
Yeah, the low point.
That was like the black mark on Disney until Home on the Range had a similar return.
Yeah, Black Cauldron, more like Black Sheep.
Yeah, this is definitely the bastard child of Disney.
Right.
Honestly, that it's definitely it's definitely one of those movies you rarely ever hear talked about. And I mean, even like among people who are, you could say like Disney veterans, they never talk about it.
Right, Disney basically ignores this. I think Euro Disney has a Horned King at the bottom of their castle, but that's like the only acknowledgement the parks give, and it's not even in America.
Yeah. That Horned King is a wuss.
Yeah,
just putting that out.
For real,
too, because he's voiced by John Hurt, who's one of my favorites.
But like it's the classic evil villain gets burned by water because only something so pure could damage something so evil, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a scene at the end where it looks like Tarzan is gonna get sucked into the cauldron, and then the Horned King gets sucked in instead. How'd that even happen? Like,
Exactly.
I don't even understand. Was Tarzan blocked by the bottom step?
Yeah, and it's kind of a shame too, because this is based on a series of books. It takes its title from the second. The Prydain Chronicles by Lloyd Alexander were pretty instrumental for American fantasy after Britain held the monopoly for some years. This book, The Black Cauldron, was nominated for the Newbery Medal, and the last one, The Great King, won it, which is unheard of for fantasy.
I think you mentioned this last week, but yeah.
Yeah, I did, but it's got a lot of themes like coming of age, like facing responsibility and living up to your potential, but this movie is basically just the Cliff Notes version of that.
Yeah.
It tries to cram in all five and say, okay, this is what the story does. This is the D&D campaign that we're running.
I don't know who that weird dog thing was. Forget his name. Yeah.
Gurgi. I'll write it in the chat.
Right.
Yes, like some kind of like the Gollum of the movie.
Yeah, except he's nice.
Yeah.
Except he's nice, yes.
And
I think it's safe to say he's the Jar Jar of this movie.
Well, he certainly has that annoyance factor.
And the MacGuffin of this movie is the cauldron, of course, and a pig.
Yeah.
The whole plot revolves around a pig. I've never seen a pig so integral since the Simpsons movie.
The pig, the pig would have been an integral part of Moana if they didn't decide to change it to the chicken.
Right.
I think that was like they did that on purpose. Like normally it's a cute animal sidekick, but then they switch it out for a crappy one.
Yeah. The pig hardly even does anything, and I think in the last third he's just kept with the underwater fairies.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
And then at the end it just cuts back to that pig being delivered, and Tarzan and gang don't even get back. They're on their way back to the village, and then the movie ends. There's really not a whole lot to this movie.
Yeah. Though I will say, though, apparently the rights to the Prydain books are still with Disney, so of all the Disney remakes coming out, this is one to consider.
I doubt it. I sincerely doubt this movie will get a remake.
I have heard people say this is one that they should remake. Like, if they're going to go down this route, might as well be one that didn't do so well.
Yeah, and again, have the coming of age themes from the book be a little bit more emphasized, and because Disney does PG-13 now with the Pirates and the John Carters, they could totally get away with a lot of the darker elements.
Oh yeah, John Carter, that was a thing.
That was indeed a thing.
I find it interesting that this is Dan Avidan's favorite Disney movie of all time. Dan from Game Grumps.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ninja Sex Party. Like he always talks about how he hates how despised this movie is by everyone and the company. Because I swear I'm the only one I've ever met in my life who actually likes this movie. It's the bastard child of Disney.
I mean, I know it kind of does have this cult following because you know it is a darker movie, and for a lot of people that is in fact a selling point.
Yeah. Financially, though, it did almost kill Disney animation. Their live action was doing okay in the 80s, but this basically almost killed off the animation studio. It took Eisner and Katzenberg to bail them out.
And thank you to our Lord and Savior, Great Mouse Detective.
Right.
And then followed by the Holy Spirit, Little Mermaid.
Yeah. And throw it
Oliver and Company in the middle, which wasn't a flop.
And then Little Mermaid being the huge success it was, and the rest is history.
The rest is Renaissance.
Yes.
Did you guys recognize the voice for the lute guy? Flam? Like the old guy who had the lute?
Yeah.
That was Nigel
Hawthorne.
Yeah.
Nominated actor.
He also voiced Jane's dad in Tarzan.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
But and also the henchman of the Horn King is voiced by a dwarf.
From Lord of the Rings?
No, just like in real life.
Oh,
Peter Dinklage?
No, just a random dwarf guy named Phil Fondacaro.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then the narrator was the famed director John Huston. Yes, really.
Wow.
Maltese Falcon and African Queen John Huston.
Really?
Also Gandalf from the Hobbit animated movies.
Right.
Let's see, are there any other things I can... I find a little odd that they spent a solid minute on trying to get the frog out of that witch's breasts.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Totally gets smothered in that.
I love how there's this scene where Taran and the not maybe princess are fighting, but then they have to realize they have to work together. That scene did absolutely nothing for me, and the fact that it lasted 2 minutes is kind of a testament to how much effort they put into the actual emotional moments.
We gotta have a third act breakup.
I think it was in the second act, and it didn't even last.
We gotta do it early.
Yeah. And I know they tried to have an emotional moment with the Jar Jar prototype.
Gurgi, yeah.
The Gurgi.
Yeah, where he jumped into the cauldron himself.
Tokyo Disney, not Euro Disney, that had the Horn King on one of their attractions.
Huh.
Oh, no, never mind. The trope is called the second act breakup.
Okay.
Yeah, second act breakup, third act misunderstanding.
Right.
Two different things.
But, yeah, those two attempts at trying to be emotional, they did absolutely nothing because this movie is just a whole lot of nothing. It's
if you follow the traditional Shakespearean 5-act structure, though, you'd have to break up earlier and resolve your problems later.
Yeah, and honestly, the characters in the movie itself was just not that compelling.
I know. Taran himself was just kind of this whiny brat in the beginning.
He's generic stable boy, honestly.
I like the one line delivery he had where he realized the pig was gone and he was like, "Oh no!
Oh no!" Just that thing.
Very. Oh no! The entire sake of the kingdom is at risk. Oh no!
Right.
Great delivery. You're like that guy from Troll 2. Oh my god!
They're eating her! And then they're gonna eat me! I better run away! Whew.
Yeah, but this movie basically can just be summed up as wasted potential if you're in the know with the fantasy cycle, and just boring and a hot mess otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe this movie should have been rated PG-13. So that we could...
that rating did exist. It was 1 year after, but again, it almost got an R. But they were like, a Disney movie rated R? What? And there was no Miramax back then to hide the blame.
And nowadays they're considering making a Deadpool movie under Disney's name.
Yep.
Nice.
I can't wait to see how that works out.
Okay, either it's going to be rated R and it's going to be, an actual rated R Disney movie, or it's PG-13 Deadpool.
And they're gonna go like the Once Upon a Deadpool route, where it just doesn't feel the same.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. What I was hoping for Once Upon a Deadpool was going to be like the trope that they did at the beginning, where they started just putting in like the awkwardly bleeped moments. I was honestly expecting that from
That
Once
they
Upon a
just showed us
Deadpool.
the safe for TV cut.
Yes, exactly. Which was
disappointing.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
thought I saw Spider-Verse instead that weekend.
That was a good
I
choice.
wish I saw Spider-Verse instead.
By the way, the vote, not like we're already surprised.
All right, let's get to it. Tarzan, 11. Black Cauldron, 0.
Yeah.
I think this was the first movie to get shut out in this tournament since Dinosaur.
This is I actually spoiled myself on this one because I forgot if I had voted on this one or not since I hadn't seen Tarzan. So I was like, I better check to see the results. And then I was like, my vote's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Right, but not like we're surprised.
Yeah.
No, not in the slightest.
Yeah, both this week and last week were kind of... The obvious choice is obvious. I do want to give props to Meet the Robinsons, though. It put up a good fight. I wish it had put up a stronger fight, but it is what it is.
But basically, Black Cauldron is one of the last buds we had to nip this tournament.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's like arguably two more Disney movies that are considered duds coming out.
Well, at the very least, we have the first half of Class D's Round 2 acts. We first got The Lion King versus Hunchback, which that's like Tangled versus Zootopia. I have no idea which way it's going to go because its fans are so diehard on both sides.
Right.
And then we've got Peter Pan versus Tarzan, which also might be interesting.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna. I'm curious to see how people view Renaissance versus Disney era when Disney was alive.
The fact they called the 50s the Silver Age is a bit of a misnomer because movie-wise it was arguably peak Disney.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only other Round 2 matchup we have where it's like Renaissance versus Old School and both are widely acclaimed is Mulan versus Snow White in Class A.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't believe it's weird saying that Snow White got eliminated so early.
No, it got
Mulan versus Snow White is gone.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my bad. I wasn't here for the first few weeks. I wasn't here for the first few weeks.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, that's going to be real interesting to see how that turns out.
Yeah, but before that, we have the final week of round 1.
Yes, week 8. And just like week 6, there are no buys this time around, so we've got 8 movies to get through.
Oh, boy.
All right. So let's get to our final set of matchups.
All right.
First, we've got the 6 seed Hercules against the 11 seed Frozen 2.
Pick your poison.
Oh, no, you mean Huncules.
Oh, man, I guess I'm going to have to sit down and watch Frozen 2.
These are 2 very divisive films.
I'm going to have to watch Frozen 2, but Hercules is one of my favorite Renaissance movies. I'm just going to say that.
To each his own.
All right. Then we've got the 3 seed Sleeping Beauty against the 14 seed Brother Bear.
I'm going to have to watch Brother Bear, aren't I?
Ooh, Brother Bear's a great movie.
It's not terrible, but it's an acquired taste, let's say.
It's good to see Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
That guy's always
I don't have the highest hopes for that, but I've been
Bill Conn did the soundtrack again.
Yep, he does do the soundtrack again.
Yes. Okay, 7 seed Lilo and Stitch against the 10 seed Bolt.
Bolt is the Disney movie I always forget about. Like when I'm listing off the canon, I have to hesitate for a while before I'm like, oh yeah, Bolt exists.
Yeah, this is actually one of the few Disney movies I remember seeing before starting this tournament. I watched it when I was at a summer music camp after finishing 7th grade.
Ironic, because it's one of the few Disney movies that's not a musical.
That's true. Although it does feature a music star in one of the main voice roles.
And they don't let her sing.
That's true. Probably.
I have seen it, but I'm going to withhold to keep from spoiling it. But I have seen it. It's just the one I always forget about.
Yes.
And also, Gray Delisle voices the kid's mom. So that's nice. Voice actor.
Always nice to have her around. And hey, there's our 3rd Avatar reference.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
There it is. There we go. We did it, everybody. Comedy comes in 3s.
Good on us. Good on us.
All right. And now, our final matchup. The 2 seed Bambi versus the 15 seed, the lowest seeded movie in this entire tournament, regardless of class, Home on the Range.
Oh my god. Dude, are you insane? Do you want that movie to be like completely just ravished, like completely destroyed?
Hey, I didn't come up with this. I didn't choose which movies go together.
You just did what the algorithm said.
I had no choice.
I did what I had to do.
Yeah. I actually watched Home on the Range right before this podcast, just because Carrick suggested we move this back an hour for better accommodations, and
I didn't see your Twitter post on it though.
Anyway, I just finished eating dinner. I realized I had like an hour and a half left. Home on the Range fit in that timeline. Gonna have to get to it eventually. Why not?
Yep.
Oh man, watching that's gonna be like pulling teeth.
Well, I will say, Home on the Range is one of my childhood movies that I watched a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know if nostalgia is gonna save this one.
We'll see. I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah, that covers the bases. But it's been a fun first round. But after this, you gotta make room for the last 2 1 seeds.
That's true. I'm thinking I'm gonna give a week after next week's podcast, just to kind of give it a break, and then I'll send out the straw polls for round 2, and we can have sort of a debate on which one we'd vote for.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned in the past that I want to kind of do a reverse of what we're doing with round 1 with later rounds.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen the movies, so...
That's the point.
Right.
That's exactly the point. So, yeah.
it'll be nice to give my thoughts on the films that I missed out on at first.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And possibly in that meantime, I could watch the two 1C buys that I have yet to get to and compile my top and bottom 5.
Right.
Cool.
Radio.
And then we'll all be caught up for Raya and the Last Dragon in March.
Yeah. And I'll probably use that time to expand the audience for this as well, because round 2 is probably not going to have any obscurities unless Brother Bear pulls a sleeper move.
The one that I think that the least people would be familiar with is Treasure Planet, and even then the fan base is pretty devoted.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, round 2 is going to have all those big names, those big titles going up against each other, and that's probably just going to draw more people in by default.
This is when things get real, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Strap yourselves in. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah. Well, we've still got that last week to get to, so...
It's going to be a bumpy ride with a lot less systemic racism in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Lord have mercy for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think this is a good place to end it. It was great talking to you guys again.
Nice.
Likewise.
Always a pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Always a pleasure, y'all.
Yeah. And, I guess that wraps it up. I'll see you guys whenever I schedule the next one.
All right.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Later.
Later.
See ya.
All right.
Bye.